I think right now people are underestimating the ability of Stipe Miocic a lot. People are seeing Stipe Miocic as this old man, which he is, by the way. The guy's like 42 if I'm not mistaken. But we know that in the heavier divisions, your age, obviously, it matters. But the biggest the guys are, the weight matters less. So you can see guys like Alex Pereira, who became a champion at 36, 37 years old. You see guys like Glover Teixeira, who became a champion at 40 years old. You see guys like Jan Blachowicz, who became a champion at 39, 38 years old as well. So I think also take into consideration the fact that in bigger weight classes, your age is not as much of a problem as in lower weight classes. You're never gonna see a champion that has 40 years of age at a bantamweight division and things like that. But when we go to those bigger divisions, guys that are older, normally they actually fight better. Tom Aspinall is an exception. The guy's like young, but he's way better than everyone else. But when we are analyzing a guy like Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, I think the age of Miocic is not as big of a problem as people are making it sound like it is. I think actually that Stipe Miocic in a normal situation, normal condition, is not as good as a matchup for Jon Jones that people think it is. Because let's think about it. What is Jon Jones? If we had to pick Jon Jones apart and say what makes Jon Jones great, what makes Jon Jones a great fighter, is the fact that he can do it all. Jon Jones, he can do it all. He can strike with you, he can grapple with you, he can finish you in the submission game. But he lacks one thing in his game. He does not have knockout power in his hands. Every single fight that we saw of Jon Jones, the only times he dropped someone was by a knee, by a kick, or even Lyoto Machida when he punched Lyoto Machida when he was coming forward. He didn't knock him out. On the most acceptable time to be knocked out, he couldn't knock out Lyoto Machida. So Jon Jones is not a knockout artist. He never had like insane power on his punches. He's more like a grinder. He grinds you, and then he finds that cumulative damage that can actually KO you or TKO you. So he did that shit against Shogun Rua and some other guys. But that was in the beginning of his career. So Jon Jones, he doesn't have that KO power. He doesn't have the one punch knockout power, which Stipe Miocic absolutely has. He's not a KO artist of the same magnitude as Francis Ngannou, for example, but the guy has KO power. He KO'd guys in the heavyweight division. Because you want it or not, Stipe is a natural heavyweight. He's one of the lighter heavyweights, but he's a really tall individual, and he has that heavyweight power. He is a natural heavyweight. Another thing that people are ignoring is people like to look at the last Francis Ngannou fight and say that Stipe Miocic is washed. But I think that when we do this, we ignore a lot of Stipe Miocic's best fights, because that second fight against Francis Ngannou, I don't know if you guys remember. Most of you guys probably are not even fans during that time, but like Stipe Miocic was actually the favorite to win against Francis Ngannou because of the first performance that he has. Stipe Miocic not only is such a great fighter, he has an insane chin. During the first fight, even during the second fight, Stipe Miocic, he ate some punches. Like Francis Ngannou was throwing some insane powerful punches, and Stipe Miocic ate those punches. So the guy is not only durable, the guy knows as well how to do everything else other than striking. So if you analyze what are Stipe Miocic's strengths and what are Jon Jones' strengths, they are actually really similar. The thing is, Jon Jones is a more skilled fighter, obviously, because he's for the weight class below, and the guy actually has some really good wrestling and grappling. But Stipe Miocic is not that far off, on his capabilities of wrestling, getting up, and striking wise. So I think when we analyze this fight of Stipe Miocic versus Jon Jones, you gotta take into consideration the fact that Stipe Miocic could knock out Jon Jones. That is a possibility. You guys have to take this into consideration. I'm not saying that it's gonna happen, but this is a possibility. Jon Jones, he's not unhittable. The guy gets hit. The last fight against Cyril Gane, he did not get hit because, let's be honest, it's Cyril Gane, okay? The guy is a good striker, but he has zero wrestling. The guy got manhandled by Francis Ngannou, who had no wrestling before the Stipe Miocic fight. So the guy won against Cyril Gane on an insanely impressive fashion, but at the same time, he gets hit. He's not known for not being hit. On his last 4 fights, he got hit a lot. He accumulated a lot of damage, and he was not getting hit by insane knockout artists. Gustafsson is not a knockout artist. When I'm saying knockout artists, I'm saying like guys who can one punch you and you get dropped and you get KO'd. Gustafsson can definitely knock you out. He knocked out a lot of people before, but he's not the type of guy who's gonna connect to one strike and you're gonna fall down to your limbs, okay? Gustafsson, same thing. They go over KO, for example. He hits you 4-5 times, and then he hits you with a big one and you get knocked out after you get wobbled. So those guys are not like distinctive knockout artists. And he's fighting those guys. He's making really close, but he's getting hit a lot in the head. So I think a guy like Stipe Miocic, who is naturally big, naturally strong because he's a heavyweight, he could actually get the better exchanges during the striking exchanges. Obviously, we don't know which Stipe Miocic is gonna present himself in the octagon because it's been like I don't know, like 4 years. Stipe Miocic, if you guys think about it, Stipe Miocic's last win was before Khabib's last fight. Stipe Miocic last fight was before Alex Pereira signed with the UFC. So the guy's inactive for a long ass time. So we don't know exactly which Stipe Miocic is gonna appear. But that's the same thing about Jon Jones. People are thinking like Jon Jones is like the prime Jon Jones that is appearing. We don't know exactly what Jon Jones is gonna appear, because the Jon Jones that appeared against Cyril Gane, he didn't fight for that long. We don't know how good Jon Jones is right now. We don't know the extent of his abilities. We don't know how his abilities translated off of 4 years without fighting. We don't know exactly how good Jon Jones is right now. So people are saying that Stipe Miocic is gonna be an easy work for Jon Jones. I think we gotta analyze another factors. The Jon Jones is really good. Like, the guy is good everywhere. But Stipe Miocic is really good everywhere too. Like, the guy is actually really good everywhere. And Jon Jones is probably not gonna knock him out. Jon Jones has no single punch knockout power. Other than like he catching him with a knee or like a elbow in the clinch like Daniel Cormier did to Stipe, I think, or a high kick like Jon Jones did to Daniel Cormier during the second fight. I think it's really hard for him to knock out Stipe, because even Francis said that like what impressed Francis more during their first and second fight is his toughness. The guy's tough as fuck. Like, for you to knock out Stipe, you gotta do some work, bro, because the guy's tough. He can take some damage. He can take some punishment, and he showed that even in the second fight. Yeah, he got knocked out, but before he got knocked out, he got hit by so many insanely strong punches by Francis Ngannou, who will literally knock out every single guy in the division, not named Stipe Miocic. So I think that we gotta stop saying that Stipe Miocic is an easy work. He's like, Jon Jones is gonna get there, he's gonna dominate. Stipe Miocic is gonna be easy fight, because I don't think it is an easy fight. It's probably one of the hardest fights that Jon Jones actually got in a long time. Do I think Stipe Miocic is gonna go there and shock the world? Probably. He could. It would be the funniest thing ever, bro, because people are saying that Stipe Miocic is so washed, he shouldn't even fight Jon Jones, which I do believe, by the way. I do believe he should not be fighting Jon Jones, not because he's washed, but because he doesn't deserve it. I understand what the UFC is doing right now, is pushing the agenda of the two greatest, the greatest heavyweight and the greatest of all time, the greatest light heavyweight champion and the greatest heavyweight champion. But realistically, Stipe Miocic do not deserve this. The guy lost against the last champion, and Tom Aspinall is literally defending his interim championship. So I think it's really clear like who deserves the fight more, Tom Aspinall or Jon Jones. Let's be honest. It's not much of a discussion. So I went into attention a little bit, but what I'm trying to say is Stipe has some tools in the shed to deal with Jon Jones. If Stipe could defend the wrestling of Jon Jones, which by the way I think he will be 100% capable of doing it, because Stipe has an underrated wrestling resume, guys. Like, he can defend wrestling, he can take you down. So I think if Stipe can actually defend the wrestling of Jon Jones and he can actually impose his striking, he has a really big chance of winning against the guy. I think we gotta stop having this Jon Jones bias of like, yeah, he's gonna destroy every single way, because every time we say that, the only time he actually destroyed the guy was against Cyril Gane, and before the Gustafsson fight. After the Gustafsson fights, you're not destroying anyone, okay? Let's be honest here. Like let's not be biased, okay? The guy is one of the greatest and all, even though he used performance enhancing drugs, but like, he was not destroying people after the Reyes fight. So let's actually analyze with a rational mind, and I think Stipe has a really good chance to win this fight actually on UFC 209.